Crash course on sociology. Social inequality. Learn about different forms of social inequality, including race, class, and gender, and how they impact society. Social inequality is the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges among different groups of people. It can manifest in many different forms, such as race, class, gender, sexuality, and more. Let's explore these different forms and how they impact society. Race and ethnicity. Race and ethnicity are often used interchangeably but are distinct concepts. Race refers to physical characteristics such as skin color, facial features, and hair texture, while ethnicity refers to shared cultural practices, traditions, and beliefs. These concepts are socially constructed and can vary across time and place. Racial and ethnic inequalities refer to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on race and ethnicity. These inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Racial discrimination in housing, education, and employment opportunities. 2. Unequal access to healthcare and social services. 3. Disproportionate representation in the criminal justice system. 4. Racial disparities in income, wealth, and poverty rates. An interesting example of racial inequality is the concept of redlining, which was a practice used by banks and other lending institutions in the United States in the 20th century. Redlining involved drawing red lines around neighborhoods that were considered high risk for lending, which were often neighborhoods with predominantly black residents. This practice made it difficult for black families to buy homes and build wealth, perpetuating cycles of poverty and disadvantage. Class. Class refers to a person's economic and social position in society. It is determined by factors such as income, occupation, education, and wealth. Class inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on class. Class inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Unequal access to education and job opportunities. 2. Unequal access to healthcare and social services. 3. Income and wealth disparities. 4. Unequal representation in political and social institutions. An interesting example of class inequality is the concept of the glass ceiling, which refers to the invisible barrier that prevents women and minorities from advancing to higher positions in the workplace. This barrier is often created by biases and stereotypes that prevent these groups from being seen as leaders, perpetuating inequalities in the workplace. Gender. Gender refers to the social and cultural expectations and norms associated with being male or female. Gender inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on gender. Gender inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Unequal pay and job opportunities. 2. Gender-based violence and harassment. 3. Underrepresentation in political and social institutions. 4. Limited access to education and healthcare. An interesting example of gender inequality is the concept of the pink tax, which refers to the extra amount of money that women often have to pay for products and services marketed towards them. This includes things like personal care products, clothing, and even dry cleaning. This perpetuates gender inequality by creating an additional financial burden for women. Sexuality. Sexuality refers to a person's sexual orientation, identity, and behavior. Sexual inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on sexuality. Sexual inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as discrimination and violence against individuals who identify as LGBTQ+. 1. Limited access to healthcare and social services. 2. Limited legal protections and recognition. 4. Limited representation in political and social institutions. An interesting example of sexual inequality is the concept of conversion therapy, which refers to the harmful and unscientific practice of trying to change a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. This perpetuates inequality by denying LGBTQ+ individuals the right to exist as they are and perpetuating harmful stereotypes and biases. Ability. Ability refers to a person's physical and mental capabilities. Ability inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on ability. Ability inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Limited access to healthcare and social services. 2. Limited job opportunities and accommodations for individuals with disabilities. 3. Social stigmatization and discrimination. 4. Limited access to education and training. An interesting example of ability inequality is the concept of the able-bodied norm, which refers to the societal expectation that individuals should have a certain level of physical and mental ability. This perpetuates inequality by excluding and stigmatizing individuals who do not meet these expectations. Age. Age refers to a person's chronological age. Age inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on age. Age inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Age discrimination in the workplace and other settings. 2. Limited access to healthcare and social services. 3. Limited representation in political and social institutions. 4. Social stigmatization and stereotypes. An interesting example of age inequality is the concept of the generation gap, which refers to the differences in attitudes, beliefs, and values between different generations. This perpetuates inequality by creating social divides and stereotypes between age groups. Religion. Religion refers to a person's beliefs, practices, and values related to spirituality and faith. Religious inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on religion. Religious inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Discrimination and violence against individuals of certain religions. 2. Limited access to healthcare and social services. 3. Social stigmatization and stereotypes. 4. Limited representation in political and social institutions. An interesting example of religious inequality is the concept of Islamophobia, which refers to the fear and hatred of individuals who practice Islam. This perpetuates inequality by creating stereotypes and biases against individuals of a certain religion. Nationality. Nationality refers to a person's citizenship and country of origin. Nationality inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on nationality. Nationality inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Discrimination and violence against individuals of certain nationalities. 2. Limited access to healthcare and social services. 3. Social stigmatization and stereotypes. 4. Limited representation in political and social institutions. An interesting example of nationality inequality is the concept of xenophobia, which refers to the fear and hatred of individuals from other countries. This perpetuates inequality by creating stereotypes and biases against individuals of a certain nationality. Language. Language refers to a person's ability to speak and understand a certain language. Language inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges based on language. Language inequalities can manifest in many ways, such as 1. Discrimination and violence against individuals who speak a certain language. 2. Limited access to education and job opportunities. 3. Social stigmatization and stereotypes. 4. Limited access to healthcare and social services. An interesting example of language inequality is the concept of linguistic profiling, which refers to the practice of making assumptions about a person's intelligence, education, and other characteristics based on their accent or dialect. This perpetuates inequality by creating biases and stereotypes against individuals who speak a certain language. Now that we have explored the different forms of social inequality and their impacts on society, let's summarize what we have learned. Social inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges among different groups of people. It can manifest in many forms, including race, class, gender, sexuality, ability, age, religion, nationality, and language. These inequalities have significant impacts on individuals and society as a whole, perpetuating discrimination, stigmatization, and social divides. By understanding and addressing these inequalities, we can work towards a more equitable and just society. To address social inequality, it is important to recognize and challenge the systemic factors that contribute to its existence. This includes examining power structures, policies, and cultural norms that perpetuate inequality. It is also important to acknowledge and value the diverse experiences and perspectives of different groups of people. This includes centering the voices and leadership of marginalized communities in efforts to address inequality. Finally, addressing social inequality requires ongoing commitment and action from individuals, communities, and institutions. This can include advocacy, education, and policy change. In conclusion, social inequality is a complex and multifaceted issue that impacts individuals and society as a whole. By understanding the different forms of inequality and their impacts, we can work towards a more equitable and just society. It is up to all of us to take action to challenge and address social inequality in our communities and beyond. And now, as promised, Here is a poem about social inequality. Inequality, a plague upon our land, divides us by race, class, and hand. It keeps us from reaching our full potential, hindering progress, making life existential. It tells us who we can and cannot be, limiting our hopes and setting us free from opportunity and access to power, leaving us to suffer, hour by hour. But hope remains, as we unite to challenge injustice and fight the fight. We stand together, hand in hand, to build a future that's more just and grand. So let us work together, one and all, to break down barriers, big and small, for a world where equality reigns supreme, and all people can live their wildest dreams. Start planning your next global adventure with ease and convenience with our Booking.com referral link. https://www.booking.com/index.html $aid equals 7989335 is a great choice to plan your next trip. You can find and book flights, hotels, cars, and local attractions all in one place, and their price match guarantee ensures you're getting the best deal. Thank you for kind support our AnHub Metaverse channel, and please watch more interesting videos here.